Hello and welcome to episode 33 of Off the Bandstand. My name is Christian Wiggs. I am your host. Today's episode is Pamela Hart, a longtime familiar face on the Austin jazz scene, and so much so that she has been inducted as a member of the Austin Jazz Society Hall of Fame. She is also the president and founder of Women in Jazz, which is her nonprofit here in Austin, as well as her production company, HartBeat Productions. In this episode, we talk about the multiple musical and even culinary endeavors that Pam continues to explore within and outside the pandemic. We also talk about her experience of balancing multiple careers throughout the years and every musician's worst nightmare, especially whenever Waze and Google Maps aren't at the ready to help. So moving on to the releases of the week, the first one is Pam's first record from 1998. It is called May I Come In, and the first tune on that record, and the one you're hearing now, was written by the great late Rich Harney, who is dearly loved here in Austin and just passed. I think we just hit the 1 year mark of when he passed last January, but his music lives on. Everyone here in town definitely is keeping his memory alive through his music and his compositions. So these are some really fine arrangements, some really fine tunes. Pam sounds great. The band is tight. It's a great record. You should go and support it. PamelaHart.com is the website in which you can go and get a physical copy and keep up with all the things that Pam is doing. Every physical copy comes with a digital download as well, but of course you can find it digitally online on all of the major streaming platforms and online stores like Spotify, Apple Music, the whole bit. And if you want to follow her on Instagram and get some more news about her, jams that she makes and all of the candies that she's making and her house concerts and the new record that she has coming out in the next couple months or so, or maybe even 1 month, you can go on Instagram to @pam.hart.7549, which we put down below for you for easy access. So many things to get excited about, and the next one of which, equally deserving of your excitement, is Monk's Jazz Club and the live streams that we plug every single week. Of course, if this is your first time tuning in to Off the Bandstand, and you don't know what Monk's is a pop-up jazz club that has existed over the past 4 years, but became a brick and mortar at the beginning of the pandemic. It's curated by Colin Shook, who is a prolific jazz pianist here in town, one of the most working guys, and he has really kept the jazz scene cohesive and has been the glue holding us all together with these live stream concerts every week. So the ones that we do have coming up, Red Young, another huge name here in town, he has his group Tenor Madness that he's going to be bringing in. That is tonight, February 25th at 7:30. It's Thursday. You can check that out. And then the next one is this Sunday. That's Jacob Wise's trio. It's February 28th. Again, Sunday at 7:30. All of these shows are pretty much at 7:30 every time. And then next Tuesday is going to be the Aaron Parks Project. Aaron Parks is a fantastic musician. I know I'm going to tune into that, and that is part of Austin Jazz Society's Project Safety Net concert series, which is where Project Safety Net is an initiative they started to help provide financial relief to the most vulnerable jazz musicians here in the Austin city limits. So if you want to tune into that and donate, any and all donations, even if it's $1, even if it's 1 penny, all goes towards the musicians and really, looking out for them so we can get on the other side of this thing back to playing live in venues for all of you. So anyways, that is all for this week that we have to plug. Monk shows, go and check those out. Go and check out Brian Carter, check out Pam Hart, and enjoy today's episode. Here is episode 33, Pamela Hart. This is Off the Bandstand. To town around, was it 82, 83?
Yeah, I moved here in 82. I started singing in 85.
Okay.
when I left my very jealous, didn't want me to sing first husband.
Oh, wait, hold on. Didn't want you to sing?
No, you know how he was just insanely jealous. And so,
Sure.
you know, there are some things that you can't not do because they're just part of you.
Yeah,
And,
right.
I was like later for all that.
For sure. So, well, okay. So now we've got the best part of it. The singer cannot be tamed. So let me backtrack a little bit and ask, because I saw like on your bio that you have a degree in economics. So it's usually not the path, I guess, where people are like, I'm going to start with like the economics degree, and then it's like, oh, well, I'll just go be a musician, right? It's usually like the other way around. Go ahead.
If I were smarter, I didn't realize where I was. You know, I didn't realize I was in the entertainment capital of the world in Los Angeles.
Right.
Even though it was all around me. I was bused to high school, so I went in the San Fernando Valley, and I was in musical production. That was my thing. I was in dance. And so when I went to UCLA in my freshman year, I got on probation because economics was just tough for me.
Yeah.
And I was the first one in my family to go to college, so I really didn't have any help. So I turned this down. So my counselor said, you seem to do well in the arts. Why don't you change your major? And I was like, no, because I also had ingrained in me that, you can be a broke artist and you should go for security first. So
Sure.
that's why I was too smart for my own good. So that's why it's been a struggle, because I've been balancing both a career and a regular career for security, and then my artistic career. But it's been fun. I've been able to do both.
Yeah. How do you strike that balance, especially because like our line of work could have us out, if you're playing the main set at Elephant Room, that's 9:30 to 1:30 a.m., so how do you balance those two, like, over the years?
Well, you have to also be a good giving person who people are willing to give back to. And so I have a great support system. I always have a great set of girlfriends who were ahead of me having kids. So I have all of these nieces and nephews. And then when I had my one, they were just too happy because she's just another, like one of their kids, a couple of years younger than their kids. So I always had trusted sitters, and sometimes she was like, why do you have to go sing?
Right.
But she got used to it. And then of course, Kevin is the most supportive husband anybody could have. I mean, he made a career helping me with mine. He became a sound guy, and he became a booking agent, and so that really helped balance everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I didn't get to. I didn't travel that much. I mean, I went to Europe with Dr. Polk, and inside the United States, but I didn't travel as much as I would have if I didn't have a family.
Sure. And I mean, at what point did you have your daughter, and how far into singing already were you when that happened?
Oh, I had her 10 years later. I started singing in 85. She was born in 95.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I had 10 good years before she came along.
well, and many more good years after that. One of the things that I'm curious about is that, when we see musicians with families, like whenever I see like my hero's Kurt Elling, right? He's got 2 kids now, one that is his daughter, and then another that I guess they've since adopted. And then, like Tony DeSera is somebody who I keep up with, a pianist and vocalist out of New York, and he's got a kid, and like all these different people who are kind of raising families, but also being out on the road. But then again, I tend to see that more on the side of like the male dominated side of that. So what was that like being a mother, being on the opposite end of that, and also continuing to try to have that music career that is, and raising a child at the same time?
Well, I guess it was kind of similar to how my mother did me. We incorporated music in the family life, you know. So
Mm.
if I needed to rehearse at home, she could be with me in the room I'd go to rehearse, and I'd let her make her sounds on the mic, and
Yeah.
I'd sing some more, and she like,
Yeah.
yelling or whatever. But other than that, she was also very good kid, and so she cooperated. And she wasn't really into coming to see me
Mm.
sing out and all of that. So I can do that. And then, you know, the most important thing is when you are with your family, you spend good quality time. And
Yeah.
so, and she's the only child. She knew how to play by herself, and
Yeah.
she had good friends that, you know, she started preferring to play with, especially, you know, as a teenager. So
Mm.
um, it worked out. She's just didn't have any problems at all with her.
Yeah.
It felt like I spent a lot of time with her because I was just local, you know, I was just local. So
Yeah.
she was asleep while I was performing most of the time.
For sure, right. You put them to bed and then you go out and you play your right. For sure. And then you don't have to worry about having drinks on the bandstand. You're good. You
That's
knocked
right.
it all out. I'm curious, you said that, you know, you would have like all of your girlfriends who are also like raising families and such. Were the people, because you're in a unique position where you have both like the day gig and you also have the music career, so that kind of provides for more opportunity to have friends that are inside music and outside of music. Whereas like me, I mean, I have very dear friends through Lydia, who has been my partner for the past 5 years, and I love them dearly. Some of them are musicians, some of them are not. But without them, all of my friends would probably just consist of the guys that I play with, right? David Mescatique, James Suter, Fabio Augustinus, Marco Santos. And that's not a dig at all. I mean, I think there's such a connection you can have with friends whenever you're able to do something that is so collaborative and very attentive to one another on a very personal and like musical level, intimate level, I should say. So did you have a lot of friends that were outside of music, and what do you prefer, I guess, between those two?
Most of my friends are outside music. I think it's over half outside than it is inside, but I like it because I do a lot of different things. You know, I like to cook. I like the outdoors. I like fishing. I like skiing. And, you know, my musician friends don't do all that.
Yeah. We're worried how we're gonna make rent. We don't have time to ski.
Yeah. And then I don't get to see them much because we're out playing.
Yeah.
And then my regular friends aren't really that much into music. I enjoy putting them on the front row when I can, so that I can have my, you know, look out and see the friendly faces, and they are very supportive. But some of them are like, if it's like all music and no singer,
mm-hmm.
they don't get it because they don't get the jazz thing.
Right.
So, but I love diversity in everything, and so having friends with different backgrounds is great because, you know, I get to be in different worlds all day long, anytime I want, by being with different groups of people.
Yeah, right. I'm curious too, with your daughter, did she gravitate more towards music as she started to get older, or was that something that she?
No, I thought that might happen, but I think she's a great singer, but she won't perform. You know, if I asked her to sing, she wouldn't do that. But she has a lot of friends, but they go to music events and stuff like that. But I've been thinking one day she's going to tell me I joined a band or something, but that hasn't happened yet. But
sure.
Her friends have been like, Shelby can sing. And I was like, yeah. I haven't heard her sing choir, high school choir.
Got it.
And she's 25 now.
Got it. Okay. Man, so, but I mean, from the, I guess the other family perspective, right? Your husband, who should not be confused, Kevin C. Hart. to be confused with the comedian. I'm so I was listening back to the interview that you did with the rabbi from, I guess, a few days ago, or I'm not sure exactly when you guys did that interview.
Oh yeah.
But it was so much fun to listen to that, and I also like thought it was hilarious that you said that there were 2 HartBeat productions, and it was kind of this like little bit of a clash, or I don't know if it's that much drama, or if there's any kind of like there was any heat there to it. But so okay, you had HartBeat Productions when did you start HartBeat Productions?
93.
93. Okay. And when did Kevin Hart start his HartBeat production?
I don't know. Let's see. We were both filing. He was filing for his LLC.
Okay.
In maybe 2017, 18, something like that. Maybe 2016. Not that long ago. A few years ago.
Gotcha. So you were already well established. You had your stake in that.
We just showed our logo and our, these are some bills we had, and this is our Secretary of State,
Sure.
certificates. And but when stuff like that happens, you still have to spend money getting through it.
Right, for sure.
So he was very nice about it, in terms of saying, he didn't try to do a cease and desist or anything like that. And neither did we. We were just like, you do you.
Yeah.
Of course, you never know when he's going to want to start getting into music, because that's what they do.
Right. They're just going to take over the whole thing. At the very least, I mean, you could probably just negotiate some like backstage passes when he comes to town. And then it's like, just get the pictures, you roll in with Kevin Hart, right? Oh man. Well, funny. So I'm so curious about where jazz started to kind of really make its way into your interest, and like what age that was. And it seems like a very basic kind of question, but I can remember very vividly the first time that I heard like the jazz idiom, right? And I was just like, whoa, what is that? Like, I feel that so viscerally, like inside, like I need to find out whatever that is. It's so foreign to me, but I'm gravitating towards it. So did you have a moment like that, or when did jazz really start to?
No, I didn't have a moment like that, because it was, probably when I was in the womb.
Yeah, sure.
Jazz music was played, and then it was played as far back as I can remember. So there wasn't an aha moment or that's jazz, because that was just part of my culture.
Sure.
But there was an aha, I'd like to sing jazz a moment, even though I had been singing it just because they were songs that I knew.
Right, sure.
I was singing it, but I decided that I really wanted to sing it when I moved. Well, actually not. It was when the Lady Sings the Blues album was released, and I learned every song, and so I was kind of singing around, like volunteering when there was a poet or something, opening a show with a selection or something like that. But after I moved to Austin, that's when I decided I was still obsessed with Billie Holiday, but I wanted to know who the real Billie Holiday was. Yeah. And in researching her, I started learning about her, and that led me to learning about, all the other great singers. And it was like, oh, my mom played these. And so that's when I started checking out records and playing them and learning stuff. And decided I wanted to start gigging. In fact, that's what broke up my relationship with my ex. Is I wanted to start gigging, and like I said, he didn't want me to. So I was like, left. And for my first gig, I had
say that one more time. You cut out. You said for your first gig something.
I had already accepted my first gig when we had the conversation about me becoming a singer.
Oh.
I'd already told somebody, oh yeah, it was a good one. It was a campaign fundraiser for Terry Davis, and it was over at the Caswell House.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just me and a guy named Peter playing piano for me at a reception. And I had already taken the gig, and then I told my husband I had this gig, and then he was like, "Oh no, you're not going to do that." And I was already determined that I
Yeah,
am.
yeah, right.
And so I did. And guess who I met there?
I'm gonna take a wild guess. I'm gonna say Dr. Polk.
No,
Uh, Willie Nelson.
I met Kevin Hart.
Kevin. Oh.
Kevin C. Hart.
Was it Sparks right there, or was it just like, oh, acquaintances?
No, there was something special, but not Sparks. Who's like, oh, this is a very nice, refreshing guy.
Sure.
So yeah.
What was he doing there at this campaign reception?
He was just one of the attendees, having cocktails and talking with his friends, and I was singing, and he describes that he was looking back at me singing, and he felt like the crowd just opened up, and it was just me and I. Right, that's his version.
Yeah, sure. We'll do some editing and post, and we'll have the lights dim beside you and a spotlight come down on your video. It'll be very, very dramatic.
Yeah, yeah, but he was as he's just a wonderful guy, and anybody who takes your dreams and says, I'll make those mine. So, is a
yeah. That's absolutely incredible. So what does Kevin do? Like, what was his day job, or I guess what does he continue to do for a career in addition to being the other half of HartBeat?
He and I have similar careers. We're both project managers in IT.
Okay, great.
So he's an IT project manager. He's retired and gone back and working for IBM as a subcontractor.
Sure.
And I went back. I've been around, but now I'm back with the state, Texas Workforce, and I am project managing the replacement of their unemployment system. So they'll be using a new system.
Yeah.
You're
doing the most for a lot of musicians right now who are out of work.
Right. That's right. So it's been like I said, it's been a juggle. But I have to say, working back with the state, they have more, vacations and holidays than the private sector. So it's a better balance for me.
I've been thinking a lot about what the pandemic has caused a lot of us to reflect on as musicians, right?
Yeah.
And the start of the pandemic had really kind of taken a pipe to the knees of a lot of us because, like you said, like the reason why it didn't work out with your first husband is like you needed that avenue of expression. And now by nature's doing, like we cannot have that avenue of expression, but you seem like you didn't waste any time like diving in and trying to make that happen one way or the other with your house concerts, like literally right behind you. So how long had you waited since like that Friday the 13th to start those?
I started March 26th.
Yeah,
March 26th was my first one, but I had some good advice. I was still working at IBM then, and one of the best lessons that I learned from IBM is what we call agility. In project management, we have this discipline called Agile, the Agile framework, and it means that you can expect change. And you need to go with the change.
Yeah.
So you need to pivot quickly and adapt, or you're going to get, left behind.
Right. Yeah.
I've always focused on looking ahead to see what's coming down the pike that I need to hone in on to remain, relevant. And so live streaming came, and it was kind of an obvious, we're going to have to live stream.
Yeah.
I was like, and actually, what is his name at Monks? Colin. Yeah, when I did his show, after that, I said, well, Women in Jazz is going to have to do this too. So I actually hired him to come and teach me how to do some of those things.
Wow, okay. Nice.
Yeah. at home, and we haven't gotten to the where he is in terms of the high-tech cameras and going through the mixer yet. We're almost there.
Sure.
But I've learned how to use the software, the OBS software, and learned how to stream on YouTube and Facebook. Immediately, I was like, it's worth it to pay somebody to get the knowledge over it, because when you learn. When I was learning from YouTube and all of that, there's so many exceptions to the rules. You need somebody to tell you what those triggers are. Watch out for this, make sure of that.
Yeah.
So I just cut through the chase with that. And, it felt good having something to do every Sunday and meeting a need for having something for the soul for everybody. A few minutes on Sundays, and then Kevin didn't mind at all. He set up there's some lights here. He mic'd the piano, and we set up a system such that even just my iPhone can pick up everything pretty, fairly well.
Sure.
So that it's a simple setup, but it's out there.
Yeah, for sure.
So that worked for us. So that's it. It's a mindset, because on the other hand, my creativity was like, I was in the cloud, my head was sort of foggy. It's like, I think of a song and then it doesn't go anywhere. So my creativity wasn't there, but I got busy with the stuff that I was comfortable with and knew how to do, like the live stream Sundays. And then I started making more jam, and I started making candy, and I sell that now on PamelaHart.com, because the other thing the IBM CEO said was, this is the time to become entrepreneurial. And these hard times like these, use what you know, to make money.
Absolutely.
So it's like, get your hustle on, and you never know when you're going to need the stuff that you make with your own hands. I went as far as, what is it I'll be able to use to exchange as currency if we ever get to that point?
Yeah, right.
I'll give you some jelly for some Band-Aids, or whatever. You just never know.
Everyone wants some jam, man. Like, wake up in the morning, you got some toast. Come on.
You gotta have it.
Oh man.
That's why.
So tell me about that. So I mean, in the interview that you did with the rabbi, and I wanted to make sure to listen to that, so I wasn't kind of just asking the same questions. Yeah. I think that sometimes can be definitely not a pet peeve of mine, but whenever I listen to interviews and I listen to like two of them and people ask the exact same questions, it's like, the person being interviewed has to just be like, all right, let me just press the tape recorder in my mind, or play, whatever. But so you had said that there was a little bit, like a 3-month period, where you really had a lot of time to yourself. And you used that time to make candy and make jam and all of that stuff. So like, where had those life skills started? Because I mean, I like to make cookies, but you can bet your bottom dollar that it's coming out of a Betty Crocker bag at HEB.
Oh,
right? So
those I started making jam when I was pregnant with Shelby. So my first jam was Shelby's strawberry jam. So in '95, I was making just strawberry. And then I decided to make Jazzy Jams. So I decided to start a line of Jazzy Jams. And I think of these things, and sometimes they go far and sometimes they don't. This hasn't gone very, very far. April in Paris, apple butter, Mingus mango peach, and all blueberry, and straight no chaser. Shelby's strawberry became straight no chaser strawberry. So I had all these different flavors I named after jazz themes.
Yeah.
And then Kevin told me, those are copywritten. You can't use those. So people inadvertently discourage you. They don't mean to, but so I stopped and just changed them back to Pam Jam and gave them regular flavors. And then I looked up Yeah, you can use those names.
Right.
So I changed them back. And then I used to make the peanut brittle, as Christmas presents. So I
Yeah.
said, I can sell it. People loved it so much. I said, well, I can sell this.
Yeah.
And so I started doing that. And it's just to have, something steady to do, because when you have a lot of time on your hands, you can get down and out if you don't have something that's productive. So you can make jam in a day, or you can make candy in a day, and then you can go to bed knowing I accomplished something today.
Yeah. Well, there's something about there's something about like when there's like a birthday cake that's made from scratch, and it's in like a nice like crystal, like
yes.
you know what I'm talking about? And then like you come down like the next morning, you go to sleep, you come down the next morning, the kitchen's all clean, you have this beautiful cake, or like what it's left of the cake. It's nice because it's like a representation of the work that's put in. It's a very tangible way of seeing that, which I think sometimes can be absent from the musical experience of trying to feel like we've accomplished things, because we can hit the shed all day and be like, shedding tunes or shedding changes, but the next day we just go back because we don't have anything to tangibly see. It's more about like hearing. So I think that is like a nice compliment to the musical side of that you're able to create things with your hands, and then you can be like, yeah, here's what I have to show for it, right? To a certain extent.
Yeah, I would like to add some more elements to music. For example, I was talking to Ryan Howard today, and we were talking about what we were going to change with our house concerts. And they were kind of put on pause because we were trying to figure out how to go to the next level.
Sure.
And get more donations, et cetera. And so some of our ideas was we can have some conversations on dissecting the songs that we do, and that'll teach the audience like how to listen to jazz, what elements do they hear, and they can be able to talk about it in musical terms. Well, not very technical terms, but just they can say, like some people know, take it to the bridge or whatever. but my friends ask me, what do you call it when you repeat the phrase at the end? I explain what a tag is, and tell them how I do a lot of triple tagging, and so explaining the elements and breaking down the life of the song is one of the things we talked about. And when you have musician friends that you can sit down and talk to what you just did, that's fun. And I don't get together with my musician friends and do that anymore. I had a singer friend I used to hang out with, and we do that, named Willie Nicholson, but she passed a couple of years ago, and so I really miss the interaction of having a buddy singer that's I'm really close to. And have those kind of conversations.
And she's the person too that you told me about the Route 66 routine.
Yes.
Which I've subsequently talked to some other people, and they were like, yeah, that was a hoot. That was like a fiery dynamic on stage that just captivated everyone's attention.
Yeah, I think we might have something. We might have seen something out there on YouTube, or I can pull something. I think we did it. I'm sure I have it on tape somewhere. We did it at one of my concerts.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so, and not to just back up, quite a bit earlier, but I am curious. So you said that you wanted to start singing, and that was already present before you moved to Austin, but then you'd been here for like a few years, and then your first husband had kind of an aversion to you wanting to go and do that. But from a personal level of arriving in Austin, what we now like refer to, or at least the airport refers to, as the live music capital of the world, like it can be very intimidating. Like whenever I was in high school, which looks like it's currently, but it's not lost on me how young I look. But I feel like I would see Austin as this kind of unobtainable goal that I was just shooting for the stars. I was like, well, I'll try to get there and make my way in after several years, but who knows if I'll be able to get a gig. And then I got here and I noticed that it's really just a tight-knit community, and it's about getting involved with that community. But what
Right.
did that look like for you between the years of like 82 and 85? And what gave you that encouragement? What steps did you take to start getting involved in the scene?
Well, I never thought of it as a competition to
Hmm.
get on the music scene. I just thought it was there's enough for everyone.
Yeah, sure.
And that if you have, since we're all different, you're just one piece of the whole. And so I never thought of who is it I need to beat, or who is it I need to
Sure.
compete with to get there. I just I was just sort of, it wasn't even any intelligence behind it, except for some guidance I got from Beulah Agnes, which said, get a set list,
Hmm.
repertoire together,
Yeah.
and James Polk telling me to get my sound system if I
Hmm.
wanted to work with him.
Sure, sure.
Everything just kind of happened organically. I didn't have like a big plan, except for I did just say one day, I am going to do this singing thing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to learn some songs. And I already knew a guy, a piano player that played around and had invited me. I had done some volunteer stuff with him at UT
Mhm.
and different places. So I knew who I can work with, but I didn't have any idea where my acts would be or
Sure.
anything. I just thought, when I started wanting to start singing professionally, I said, well, somebody pointed me to the Elephant Room to start going to jam session.
Yeah.
And I went every single Monday.
Really? Okay.
Every single Monday, whether they called me up or not. They start calling me up.
Yeah.
So
Were there many other vocalists on the scene at that time?
yes, there was Willie Nicholson, Beth Ullman, Donna Menthal, um, Julie Burrell, Susie Stern,
Hmm.
and then two more that have since passed. Kelly Gray,
Okay.
um, and I can't think of the other lady's name. Julie Burrell and Kelly Gray have both passed on.
Hmm.
And then another young lady that moved to College Station, Karen Chavis.
Okay.
So, and Hope Morgan
Okay.
as well, and Jackie Cross. So,
It was robust. Now, I did
yeah.
notice that as you were saying that, it didn't sound like there were any male singers at the time.
No, I never knew any male singers, but I didn't look for any because I had already started on building this niche for women in jazz,
Yeah.
Black women in jazz first, and then women. So I wasn't thinking about them because they already had jazz.
Yeah, exactly. No, and you're absolutely right to be thinking that way. I'm so curious about that, about just your not involvement, like really kind of pioneering the women in jazz, like starting with Black women in jazz, and I know that you wanted to make it a little bit more inclusive for your other woman singer friends that were
Yeah.
not of color. So you wanted to like get them involved. So I
Yeah.
feel like that was not so much in the conversation. I mean, you can tell me, I don't know at all. I wasn't a
Yeah.
twinkle in anyone's eye in the 80s. But like women in jazz, with that starting, was that something that was, dare I say, even controversial at the time?
No,
Okay,
it wasn't.
good.
It wasn't at all. And well, for a few guys I liked to work with, didn't necessarily like to work with singers, but they did it for the gig. Like Martin Banks did
Say
not
that
like
one more
working
time.
for the singers.
You'd cut out, so say that one more time.
I said I was working with musicians who did not necessarily like working with singers
Sure. Okay.
because, and I understand why. And I was saying like Martin Banks, he didn't like working with singers because most singers you work with need what we started teaching, and that's working with musicians.
Right. Sure.
Because if you have to hold somebody up the whole song, that's no fun.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so that's the only thing is we were pushing to have more women singers. And every once in a while, somebody would say, well, what about men in jazz? And I said, well, that's the norm.
Yeah, right.
Nobody fought it, and it was supported immediately.
Wow,
The
that's
city
amazing.
of Boston funded it as a project immediately. And then
Yeah.
Austin Woman Magazine jumped on board.
Wow.
I didn't have any trouble getting, initial sponsors.
Yeah.
I could do better on asking for more sponsors. But no controversy at all. And now my board, the board of directors, not my board, but the board of directors of Women in Jazz, even sometimes ask, when are we going to do a men's show? Like when they get their own nonprofit. As you see, we incorporate the men, though. We incorporate them as musicians, and we've had a couple of male singers.
Sure. Yeah, well, no, and that totally makes sense. And I should say that I don't at all think that it is a controversial thing, but what year did you start Women in Jazz?
We had our first concert in 94.
94.
No, we had our first Black Women in Jazz in I think 90. We had 90, 91, and 92. And then that 92 was the last year.
Gotcha.
And there was an organization called the Black Arts Alliance, and I was a board member, and I just, suggested it as a project. And when I got off the board and then learned that they weren't doing it anymore, that's when I grabbed it as something else. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So how have you seen that evolve, and what kind of scope of work has Women in Jazz included to foster that like safe environment and encouraging environment for more women to be on the scene?
Well, first it was hard because we were first only going with what we knew, which were the local vocalists.
Sure.
And that was fine. And then when we got funded by the city, we started doing national acts. But the difficulty was, we didn't have what do you call an A&R guy, or whatever you call those people that go out and search for talent.
Sure, yeah.
We had people soliciting to us, I'm a singer, look at me. But we had to balance the budget with bringing in out of town and people who were known and not known. So yeah. There's always, the fight was within the board, or I shouldn't call it a fight, but the arguments were about balancing cost with benefit.
Sure.
Cost of bringing in versus would anybody come and see them because do they know them? And that's always, that's still the going thing. But now we've been about in 2012, we started 2011, we started a youth project.
Okay.
To have a youth summit every year, and a whole day of art where parents could just drop off their kids from 8 to 19, and
yeah,
someone would drop off 6-year-olds and 5-year-olds over at the Carver, and we just take over the whole museum, and we'd have workshops on singing, and we'd have painting, vision boarding, photography, and film. Kevin has done his sound engineering. So that's been fun. And we haven't done that. We stopped doing that last year because of COVID. Sure. We haven't done it. And then we incorporated a youth concert in 2012. And now we're trying to keep the same kids and bring in new ones. But now this year is going to be a millennial concert. Okay. And that's when we started with Sarah's band and other kids. We started by looking at high schools, art high schools. Yeah. And even doing some programs in the schools. I've done some jazz teaching at the schools, and also with the museum downtown, the Children's Museum. Yeah. One little jazz shows that had a lot of movement with them to keep the kids interested. And but I really like doing the one-on-one mentoring. Yeah. To to teach a singer and have some continuity and see them grow and to the next steps. So I'm working with a couple still.
Yeah.
For that. Today, one of them asked me if she should quit her HEB job because she just wants to do music. And I said, keep the job.
At least until there's a vaccine.
I said, for now, there's not much music, you can do or travel. And I said, sometimes it's a means to an end. So deal with it. You still have time to come home and do some music.
Well, and I think that's another like big thing that can be a big talking point is the cost and cost benefit like analysis of our time, right? Because if we are fully focused on like the music, we're able to make much bigger strides in ideally a shorter amount of time that will make a full-time music career much more of a viable option. But if we do take somewhat of a safe route with having, and I think you are the exception to this rule, it being that you have very successfully balanced both of those things your entire life, or at least seemingly. But sometimes I feel like we are not able to focus on the music quite as much because we have a job that is demanding of us. And then do we have the energy once we get home? And I think it doesn't even stop. Yeah, I don't even think it stops there with just non-music related things. I mean, in a way, and this might be controversial, but in a way, I think that the pandemic has been really, really fantastic for the time as a result of the pandemic for musicians who have now been able to do a lot of self-reflection of what it is they want their sound to be, what they've needed to work on. Because, I mean, a lot of us can be playing 20, 25 gigs a month, and then we don't get much time to hit the shed because we feel like the gig has become the shed. So I think that is a huge other conversation entirely, but just that balance of those two things. And
that's true. It is tough, and people would ask me, how do you, work all day and then go do a gig? And I tell them, well, I get a new level of energy when it's time to go do a gig. It's a whole different, it's a whole different vibe. Not that I don't get tired. Like for now, the Elephant Room is what, a 4-hour gig?
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah.
A 4-hour gig because. In fact, the last few times I did it, I don't realize how much I move around while I'm on my feet, and I would feel it the next morning. I was like, oh, my legs are stiff. I didn't realize, that that's a long time.
Yeah.
So, but it's just, you don't realize it because you're just having such a good time. Such a good vibe there. So
yeah, one of the things that you had said that I think had a lot of wisdom that I heard you say with the rabbi was that you don't like to sing alone, and if you're doing it correctly, you're never singing a song alone because you're very. It just seemed like you were promoting the idea of mindfulness of the audience, the band, you yourself, how you're feeling, the room, the atmosphere, the staff, nighttime, daytime, all of these different things that are the constituent parts that make for a very unique shared experience with your audience. And I think that is a beautiful sentiment that sometimes we just get through the motions and we're like, all right, it's another audience. It's like the same tunes that we've been doing. It's a bunch of standards. So what are the kind of gigs that you found really allow you to focus on that most and really dial into that mindfulness? Because we have things that are like steakhouse gigs that are more like wallpaper type things. We have listening rooms. We have noisy club gigs, like all these different things. What is your preferred cup of tea to perform?
My preferred is a produced concert where there's a room full of folks, some near, some far, and the performance has been planned a certain way, and people are expecting excellence.
Yeah, sure.
And so giving them the idea of giving them what they want and going for that is what I like, because they're it's a quiet room. It's not.
Right.
I like applause though.
Yeah.
I like U.S. rooms. European rooms are great, but you don't know whether they like it or not to the end because they're so quiet, which
Sure.
is nice. It's like,
It's very
oh,
respectful.
they're really.
Yeah.
But then it's like, do they like it?
Right.
So I like our crowd, and I like somebody to yell out, sing such and such and so and so.
Yeah. Sure.
But yes, one that's produced in where I'm expecting the musicians, everybody's there to do their best. But everybody goes with the flow as well. So, because we plan stuff, but we expect that if there's a squirrel that we want to go for and experience that everybody sees it and goes and comes back, and everybody has their experience. And I like it when musicians take the liberty to do what they hear and take us there,
Yeah.
So everybody can say, come with me, come with me, come with me.
Sure.
And we all have a good, journey.
As I understand it, you've had like 3 really like very special collaborators, very kind of unique experience of collaborators like Sandy Allen, Dr. Polk, and then now Ryan D. Howard, right? So what is it that you as a vocalist and as a storyteller and a collaborator and a creative person look for in a pianist collaborator?
Well, and Marty Allen too.
Right.
About Marty Allen. Well, I look for a good partnership, and I am myself most of the time. So I come straight at in my conversation with a musician, because I want them to get to know me immediately. So I talk very familiar terms right away.
Sure.
And sometimes, like, Ryan was taken aback, like, okay, because I talked to him like he was my brother or somebody. And so they quickly learned. And I also encourage them, if they're not, if they're younger than me. I mean, they try to be respectful, and I say, well, it's not. I don't need you to be respectful. I need you. I want to hear you, but I also want you to hear me.
Sure. Yeah.
So if I hear something that you do, I might feed off of that. But if you hear something I do, feed off of that. So the message is, just be true to what you feel like doing, and just be free to express yourself. Yeah. And when they do that, it makes it easier for me to do what I want to do. So we just watch one another and listen to one another.
Yeah.
And
there's a great comedian that I really like. His name's Pete Holmes, who's like currently on the scene, and he describes the relationship with his wife. Her name is Valerie, saying that there's elements of this where they both kind of switch roles, but one of them becomes a look at me and the other one becomes an I see you. So it's like, look at me, I see you, and having that kind of switch appropriately so when you need to, so that way it's this like balanced kind of very attentive relationship. Because I do think the relationship with a collaborator, like specifically like my pianist David Mescatique, is very much focused on being aware of tendencies and being aware of the creative input that each one can offer. But I do think that kind of connection is very akin to, and I'm certainly not professing my romantic love for David Mescatique, but I think it's very akin to the idea of a romantic relationship, of just being a good listener and a good contributor.
Right. And also a good giver.
Right. Yeah.
You be a good giver, and then you're a good receiver.
Yeah.
To give is giving space, giving permission, and people appreciate. appreciate the fact that, you know, it's like putting down a welcome and, you know, them knowing they can come in anytime.
Right. There's a few things, because I also want to be very respectful of your time. I know you have some other things to do. A few things I wanted to make sure to plug and ask you about was, so you have a record coming out soon.
Oh, yes. I'm so excited about it. It's,
so tell me about it.
It's, I don't know what to call it because it's only 42 minutes. It's not a 45.
Okay. Well, I won't tell.
It has, I'm smiling because it's a joy to me. It has my comfort, happy songs that I needed during this time. So it has a song called Wonder Why, and they're all covers. I learned it from Carmen McRae, Swing It, and Ryan Howard jamming. And I'm gonna have to send it to you so you can hear it.
Yeah.
The title tune, which is called Happy Talk, just swinging. We'll be together again. The grass is greener. Tenderly, which is beautiful, as well as Don't Go to Strangers. And Sergio Mendez is Dawn is filled with so many stars. So it's wonderful. And I had been experimenting with those songs, you know, at the house concerts because most of them I learned from my mom.
Yeah.
Except for Wonder Why, which I learned just like last year sometime and dug it so much. But it's home. They're home. Those tunes are. Or I want my mama because it's COVID and I don't know what to do.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Those are my project safety net.
Right.
So I take my pictures on Saturday for my album cover, and so after I have those, I'll be ready to upload everything and order my my CDs. I've already gotten all the licenses and everything, and I've been compiling, almost done with everything, the content that needs to go on the cover, all the credits and everything. I had Ryan playing piano, Brandon Temple on drums, John Fremingen on bass, and then I had Andrea Hayward do some color as well. Mike Malone, and then I did have one female, Althea Renee, plays flute on Tenderly. Fantastic. And it is awesome. It's awesome.
Wow, man, I'm so excited. So that looks like it's coming imminently then. Like we might see that in the next couple months.
In March.
Oh.
They'll be ready in March. Well, they'll be online in March. I might not get the CDs back in March, but it'll be on CD Baby and Amazon and stuff like in my website in March.
I am so excited. I'm so excited about it. Well, let me ask you this. Well, one more question and then the last thing is, if you had to give the listeners right now, be like, go and listen to this right now. This is one of my favorite records or one of my favorite recordings. What would you say? Could be something you're listening to this week, something of your favorite of all time. Just what do you suggest as required listening?
Well, it's not going to be what you expect.
Okay.
It's the 50th year of Donny Hathaway. You know,
50th year of Donny Hathaway. Ooh.
It's Donny Hathaway's 50th, year after he's gone, I guess. And so listen to the best of Donny Hathaway, but the all-time favorite that everyone should listen to is Sarah Vaughan live in Tivoli.
Okay.
Tivoli.
Great.
Yeah, my mother listened to, we were listening to that in the car. She sings Maria.
Ooh.
And afterwards, we all just went,
yeah,
wow. You know, we almost in the car crying over Maria.
Oh, yeah.
Sassy sings Tivoli.
Okay, great.
That's the best of all time.
I'll put it in there. I'll put it in the comments of the description. Now, the last question that we always have is, we've all, as gigging musicians, had gigs from hell where things just went up the wall, crazy. If you can recall, what is your favorite gig from hell story where it was just like, I cannot believe this is happening?
I only have one of those that I couldn't get to in time, and I missed the opening number that I was supposed to do, which was the theme for the whole night.
Oh.
Yes, it was a gig out at Bergstrom at that Hilton Hotel, and just for the Urban League for one of their annual bashes. Real important gig. And
Okay.
we had rehearsed this song called "It's a New Day" that they requested, and I had some background singers working with me for the night, and I wasn't there for that song.
Oh, no.
And I never got hired again by the Urban League.
Oh no!
And that was the only time I'd ever done something like that. But I was fretting too much on getting ready, and then I misjudged the time, and I was like 5 minutes late, and they were finished with the song. And my reputation was shot.
Well, not too terribly much. You seemed to bounce back quite all right from it. So
yeah.
Oh man.
Nothing's been. Haven't had any train wrecks.
Well, you've been incredibly lucky. We all. I feel like I've definitely had my fair share of some things already. So hopefully I can take a note from your book and have less of those.
Yeah.
Well, Pam, thank you so much. It's been so lovely to talk to you.
Thank you, Christian. I'm so glad you're doing this.
Yeah. Well, they're so much fun. They help me to acknowledge the rich history of everybody who's come before me and everybody who's on the scene now. So I'm just thankful that people are willing to spend an hour talking to me about things.
Well, good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck to you, and
thank you very much.
Keep doing what you do.
Yes, ma'am. All right. I'll see you soon. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Oh, honey, though our friendship ceases from now on. And listen, if you can't say